All right, time for another Robotaxi ride. I'm gonna film this whole ride for you. We're gonna go to In-N-Out and let's see how it does. So we're about 15 minutes away. I'm in a red Model Y. And honestly, I have to say, I think I've taken about 15 rides so far. They've all been very smooth, very safe, and completely intervention-free. On social media, people tend to cut clips, focus on all the negatives. You have all the reporters who didn't get invited. They're looking for some negative angle. But for the most part, the drives are completely uneventful. They're smooth, they're comfortable. It's like riding with a professional chauffeur. And we were outside the geofenced area last night at the Comedy Mothership, which was great, by the way. And we took a Waymo home. And honestly, it was just really interesting to feel the drive in the Waymo compared to the Tesla. The Waymo was braking hard right away, making some turns too aggressively. It was just a rougher ride compared to the Tesla. And that's a point I think a lot of people don't appreciate. This thing just feels smoother, more comfortable, more human-like than the Waymo. And I think that's really a product of the much larger data set they use to train this model. So I think it shows extreme promise. It's the smoothest self-driving system that I've ever used. And I mean, you should see the things that Waymo did in its first week with passengers. Go read some of the comments. And it's improved a lot since then, but the way this thing stops at stop signs and traffic lights, just your basic driving operation, stopping, turning, it just feels so much smoother and more refined. And in terms of interventions, I mean, it seems to me that it's doing thousands of miles between interventions at the least. So this should be something that the world is really excited about. The way they're deploying it with somebody in the front seat, I think there's very little chance of anything going wrong. As you can see, we have a pullover button back here. Up front, they have a pullover, stop in lane. And I think they also have an emergency stop button. They're deploying this the right way. They're monitoring it closely. But for the most part, the safety monitor doesn't do anything. You know, we have about 20 people here, all taking rides. I think maybe there was one example where we saw somebody push the stop in lane button when the car was pulling over into a spot and the UPS truck was also backing into that spot, which I think, you know, the UPS driver probably should have been more careful. But of course, that's the real world. People don't always follow the rules. People don't always do the right thing. The AI model needs to be smart enough to handle all of that, obviously. But if there was nobody there, would it have crashed? Probably not. I think the car probably would have noticed what was happening and stopped, maybe reversed. The UPS truck driver might have seen it. But you don't want to wait and find out. you want to obviously be super cautious, study everything, and that's what they're doing. So, the reason I think the world should feel very optimistic about this is, if this works, and by all accounts, it's working extremely well, the model's going to continue to improve. It's going to get better. This is really the worst it'll ever be. And even now, it's completing 99% of drives plus intervention free. So if they're able to actually train a model that can drive around Austin without problems using just cameras, well, this technology can then be built into every car that's made. Now, think about how many crashes could be prevented, how many injuries could be prevented, how many lives could be saved if this type of technology was built into every car. When you look at some of these other self-driving cars, your Waymos and your Zooxes and other brands, the technology isn't really workable to incorporate into a mass-produced car. It becomes too expensive, it becomes too weird looking. I'm not sure we have enough LiDAR and sensor production in the world to be able to really retrofit all the world's cars. And then look at this car. Look at the glass roof. You can just look straight through it and enjoy the view. That's something you're never going to be able to do in any of those other cars because of all the extra equipment they have mounted all over the car. So the experience is just better. Safety being equal, and I think they're actually going to be able to exceed the safety of Waymo and others. Remove the safety monitors from the car and beat them on safety while also beating them on comfort, on entertainment options, on the quality of the car. This is really the rideshare service you want to be using. I've been staying here with the geofence, and everywhere I go, we've been calling Robotaxis. They show up in a few minutes. They're always comfortable, cool. You can play music, you can watch Netflix, you can watch YouTube. This is the kind of driver you want driving around your neighborhood. All right, now we're making a left turn. The car's creeping for visibility. And there we go. I haven't really seen any situation that's tripped it up. The worst I've seen is maybe some braking that was a little harder than it needed to be, but that was pretty minor. I think they've kind of tuned up the sensitivity, particularly to vulnerable road users. And the other thing I saw was when we were in Terry Black's and asked it to pick us up, it kind of stopped in the middle of the parking lot, blocking things a little bit. But that was pretty minor as well. We just got in. that's an easy thing to refine. So overall, I don't think people are really giving them credit for how well the service is performing. What a success it's been so far. And honestly, I think it's saving people a lot of money too. For $4.20, you can go anywhere in the geofence. This is my first time going to In-N-Out in the geofence, one of my favorite places. So I had to test it out naturally. And it's really nice. It's really nice to be able to just call a Model Y with FSD, sit in the back. You don't have the cabin camera bothering you. You can just do whatever you want. Look at your phone, watch a movie, listen to music, and it'll take you wherever you want to go. This is a really cool area too, where they have their service. I've honestly been really impressed just going around here. All right, we got a left turn. There's some big trucks. No problem. And now it's just a straight shot ahead to In-N-Out. Now, very few people are going to sit through an 18-minute long video where the car just does everything perfectly. They want to see some viral social media clip where it's braking too hard or making some mistake. But that's not really happening very often, I have to say. It's been kind of hard to film the drives without mounting the camera to the roof. You have to kind of hold the phone or hold the camera. So that's been stopping me from recording a lot of the drives, but today and tomorrow I'm gonna record a lot of full drives just so people can see how it's really doing. I think if you actually are sitting in it, it's hard not to be impressed. This is the first time in history that we have cars on the road without a driver, using just cameras and computer vision. A lot of people said that what we're seeing here was impossible. And it's very clearly not impossible. I think you can argue that maybe some additional work is needed before they can have the cars operate with truly nobody inside. But I don't think they're far off from that. This next model they're training, 4.5 times larger model, I think it's going to be significantly smarter than even what's driving the car right now. And I think they're going to continue to train smarter models after that. People have already spotted a lot of the cars outside of the service area, in North Austin, in downtown, even on the highway. So I think they're going to expand much more rapidly than a lot of people are expecting. Look at the steering wheel. When you're in a Waymo, you see the steering wheel kind of jerking back and forth. It's very robotic. With this service, it just feels like a human is behind the wheel. And it's kind of interesting just driving by people, cyclists, other cars. Very few of them even realize that the car doesn't have a driver. It's so natural that they just go about their business. They never even think to look at the car. All right, here's in and out. Let's see where the car drops me off. I think it is gonna drop me off inside the parking lot. And that's actually another thing that I've noticed compared to Waymo. It doesn't always drop you off exactly where you want. For example, I think they seem to have kind of one drop-off point on South Congress. But, you know, last night when we took the Waymo home, it didn't drop me in front of my house. It dropped me on the other side of the intersection. So we had to walk through the road and this big intersection to get to our house, which isn't exactly that safe. This thing picked me up and dropped me off right in front of where I'm staying. And it seems to navigate parking lots pretty well. We had one parking lot we had to drive in, and it was such a tight parking lot, we couldn't even figure out how to get out. So we started following this Robotaxi, and it was just weaving through buildings and cars and got out on its own. I have to say I'm pretty impressed. Another thing I like is this drop off now button. A lot of times you're in a Waymo and it just keeps driving past your destination, or you're stuck in traffic. You know, the last minute of the drive is a ton of traffic and you could probably walk there faster than the car could get there. So having that drop off now button is really handy compared to what Waymo makes you do sometimes. So in summary, everyone said doing autonomous rides with a pure vision system was impossible. Not only is it not impossible, but we're already seeing them beat Waymo in several important ways. So while everybody's laughing and saying this will never work, I'm feeling pretty bullish. I think I'm gonna buy the stock. This company is about to take over the world, I think. Thanks for watching.